Hi, Sarah Beplin here. I'm back to talk about fitting, my favorite thing to talk about, and specifically I want to talk about reading the fabric today, about reading drag lines. I've had a couple of students send me pictures for online consulting with this type of thing, and I hope that this explains to everybody who's interested in reading drag lines what it is that I see when I'm looking at fitting photos or photos to help you fit, but also anytime I'm fitting. And reading the fabric is extremely important. I have a skirt here to show you this on, but more often than skirts, I see this on pants. I don't have a pants dress form, so I can't really show you with pants, but the idea, the concept is exactly the same. Here, what I'm going to show you about this type of drag line as it is on pants, and it's really important to learn to read. It's kind of scary. Sometimes I look at a picture and in my mind what I'm doing is manipulating the fabric like I'm going to show you, and if you can learn to visualize that in your brain, it'll be really helpful too. But it took me a long time to be able to do that. So the issue is that we have excess fabric at the waist, and a lot of people, their inclination is to take everything or most of the excess out of the side seam. But as soon as I do that, do you see what happens? As soon as I have this excess, I have some here for dart, and then I'm going to say, okay, I want to take more out of the side. Do you see this drag line here? That tells you that you have taken too much here, and you need to release this, let the fabric grain go up and down. Right now I'm torquing it over, and so I'm going to be bringing it back so that I am not torquing it over to the side too much. And I'm going to bring it around to being over the buttock, and you can see this area then is hanging straight. Now I can take a little bit out of the side seam. I'll take a little bit more out of the side seam so you can see that. And this line here is just where I had done this mock-up for somebody's, they wanted a lowered waist, so you can ignore that. But now you can see grain line of fabric is hanging straight. I'm not torquing it over. This, I'm torquing it over too far in that direction. That's why I'm getting this diagonal twist. And then I'm going to move the fabric up here this direction and watch really slowly. Do you see how that goes away? And that's what you want. And then you can decide whether you want to put all of the excess in the waist in a single dart, and sometimes that works. Let me get that all over here and see if that works. Dress forms are much easier to fit than real people because they are standardized and they have nice shapes in here. So on this particular dress form, I could fit with one dart like this. Got a pin in there so we can see that. But a lot of women have roundness right in this area, and that's true whether you're fitting skirts or pants. And so often you need to have a little short dart in that area to fit that lump or bump. So I've just stuck a little piece of fabric that's folded here a few times, and I know it's lumpier than our bodies are, but what I want is to get some fullness right in here. So you could see here, if I try to put all of the darting in this one area again, I've got a little drag line in here, and we're not creating a mound here. It would be okay. It's not ideal. But if I put a little tiny dart here to create three-dimensionality for that mound to sit within, that's how I think about it. We're creating three-dimensionality with our dart. That's what darts do. And now I've created a three-dimensionality for that little flesh pad there. Harder to fit because it's a fabric wad. And then I can bring the rest of the darting at the waist, take up the excess at the waist, and bring it here over what the full buttock would be. And that way I'm distributing the dark and excess at the waist in several places. So now I've got a dart coming here to fill this. This dress form's quite flat here. A little dart to fill this, and then the rest I can take up in the side seam in here. So this is a good example, I think, of how we can read those drag lines. Now I've released some of the side seam. We have less taken out in the side seam. So what we're concentrating on is from center back over to your side seam. I'm only fitting this quadrant of the body, and this side would be exactly the same, but we're just concentrating here. I've got center back lined right up on center back, and it's staying there. Our first example was taking everything out of the side seam, and we got these drag lines going that direction. But the opposite can be true too, that if I take too much out in the darting, I can start to get drag lines here over that flesh pad. So when you're fitting the waist, remember that you've got tools. You have your center back seam. I often don't take very much out of the center back seam, but maybe 1/4 of an inch at the most at the waist going to 0, maybe down in here. You've got your side seam and you've got your darting, and you can have 1 dart or 2 darts on really full figured gals. In pants especially, I would be fitting with 3 different darts, a primary over the buttock where it sticks out, the other dart sitting over an area where there's the dart would be a little bit higher usually, and there's flesh here, and then that curve over that high hip area, a little tiny dart there. So you have your tools of your side seam, your center back seam, and however many darts you want. And what you want to be doing is reading this fabric so that you don't get these odd looking drag lines like this, everything coming torquing over this direction, and I start to get some drag lines here. Those are faint. I do a lot of experimentation when I'm fitting. I'll pull the fabric this way, drag lines, pull it this way, start to get drag lines, and I'll do that experimentation. It doesn't take too long. It's not like I need to finesse the fitting exactly with each experimentation. I'm just going to get the gist of what's going on so I can decide where it is I really want to be taking in the waist relative to the hip circumference in order to get nice shaping over that particular figure. When you do these short darts for the high hip, remember that the intake should be quite small, no bigger usually than 3/8 of an inch. I often prefer just 1/4 of an inch, meaning 1/8 of an inch on each side of the center line of the dart. They're small and they're usually short. Now I can play with, okay, can I take more out here? And it sure looks like it because I'm not going to get any drag lines. Fitting a dress form is nice. She's very patient and she doesn't get antsy with me playing around doing my experimentation. Fitting somebody else, they can get antsy. And fitting yourself is hard because there's usually a lot of taking off and putting back on. So you can do it. I'll keep showing you different examples of fitting and how my mind conceptualizes it, especially about reading the fabric.